Hello guys, welcome back. As we're beginning a new trading week, I'm taking a look at what is happening with Alibaba, obviously one of my top holdings here. I've been talking about it a lot. People are very interested about the company and the stock, and that makes a ton of sense. It has been completely battered down, and we want to see whether we are gonna be getting some type of positive price action anytime soon. Now, as I'm looking through the markets today, you can kind of see this article here. Alibaba, Neo, and Chinese peers are shooting up in Hong Kong today. Now, Hang Seng is up over 1%, and Shanghai's SSE Composite Index and Japan's Nikkei also higher. Now, the Chinese government has rolled back some COVID restrictions, and that's extremely important. That's for the mainland capital of Beijing. Super important because after imposing all these lockdowns and very tight restrictions, really, it makes it difficult for companies and the economy to keep going stronger. And so they are really hurting themselves, really, the Chinese government. And so hopefully we're going to be seeing more of these restrictions lifted. And what I hope even more is that they will never come back again. Now, Europe's biggest money manager, Amundi, sees a brighter side for the Chinese stock market, is what is also mentioned here. Now, you will see that shares of US listed Chinese company are trading higher in Hong Kong. This actual negative action is actually about last Friday, pretty much, when the markets were down. But right now, this is what is happening in Hong Kong. Like Alibaba is 1% up, JD.com 2%, Baidu almost 3%. You can kind of see how the whole stock market is actually trading higher in China today. Of course, we're going to see what's going to happen in the US, what's going to be happening in the US, but generally speaking, because of arbitrage, this kind of prices tend to be reflected unless something drastic changes within the day. Now, we do know about what is happening with Alibaba's macroeconomic factors here and the Chinese government and the lockdowns pretty much that seem to be kind of easing a little bit and potentially could allow the companies to keep on growing and continue making some nice earnings here. Some news here is that Alibaba replaced Lazada Group CEO with the head of its Thailand business, James Dong. And other than that, we kind of want to see what the whole market and people start thinking about Alibaba. I always track this because I can kind of see a shift in sentiment potentially. I'm interested to see that, in seeing that, because it can actually help me understand what is happening in the, within traders pretty much. And that kind of can show a shift in the whole trading aspect of the company and the stock price, and kind of start slowly creeping up higher if that's going to be the play that's going to be happening in the next few weeks. Now, you will see here this article, Alibaba stock playing Russian roulette in China. This author here has covered Alibaba some time ago, about a year ago, and they were generally speaking kind of negative. They said that they felt uncomfortable holding the stock ourselves, given that the risks are of a nature that they cannot justify. That makes sense. I mean, back then there were some issues in terms of the government, in terms of the whole microeconomic factors between China and the US. And we knew that there may be a little bit of a downtrend, okay. But as the company went lower and lower, it made a ton of sense to start buying because the company was dead cheap. And they were still very strong in terms of what they were doing. Now you will see that Alibaba is still posting very solid top line growth numbers, although the bottom line has been affected. And you can understand that. I mean, the whole country has been in a lockdown, really. You can expect this to happen. And with all the supply chain issues, with the inflationary environment, I mean, this is bound to happen, of course. And people pretty much locked down in their homes. I mean, you kind of have to assume that this will happen, and it did happen. Now, in their most recent release, quarterly earnings release, Alibaba announced almost a 9% year-over-year revenue growth, despite all these headwinds, which is very interesting to see. So the underlying fundamentals over here for Alibaba are looking pretty great, even though we're facing all these pressures, really, in terms of the economy. Now, you will see here an interesting development for the company was the China State Council May 31st release of official measures that it plans to take in order to aid an economic recovery. We have talked about this in the wake of severe COVID-19 lockdowns. And this is what Alibaba actually stated, Alibaba management stated back in their recent earnings call. They basically are talking about the Chinese government releasing important policy signals for commitment to stabilize the economy and the job market. That makes a ton of sense. You can kind of read the whole thing here, but you will see that several of these policies pretty much are highly relevant to the business of Alibaba, including stimulating consumption, ensuring the provision of essentials, and achieving supply chain recovery. This is key, as you can understand, for a company like Alibaba, and pretty much for every company really. But as you will see on top of that, several metrics paint a rosier picture here. The fact that daily COVID cases fell below 100. I mean, that doesn't even make sense. I mean, I don't even know why they are tracking this right now. I mean, that's very weird to me. But yeah, they had too many lockdowns and for a long time for no real reason. And it looks like this gets better through the days and through the months, really. And Shanghai has just resumed public transportation as well, which will also help a lot. And also Beijing is reopening some shopping centers here. So generally speaking, we are seeing some positive trends for the most part in terms of how the economy is handled right now. It seems to be getting a little bit more free. Hopefully this will continue. But we do know that growth rate has been decelerating for Alibaba as well. They had a Q4 net loss, okay. Again, this is something that you would expect through this kind of period here. Now, you will notice that they have a fortress balance sheet for which we have talked about in multiple videos. So the company's balance sheet is basically stellar and has been increasing tremendously through the years. You can kind of see some information here. Long-term debt has only increased slightly. Pretty much things are looking great in terms of Alibaba's balance sheet, and this is very, very important for a company. We want companies that have strong, fortified balance sheet and can sustain this kind of downtrends in an economy for a long period of time, even if they need to. And also, the article discusses how Alibaba's stock is very, very cheap here because it currently trades at 9.53 on an EV to EBITDA basis, if you are interested in enterprise value compared to EBITDA, whereas Amazon trades at 17.23. As you can see, this is almost double here. And likewise, we're looking at a forward price to earnings of 13, while Amazon is like 70. And we have talked about how Amazon is expensive right now, and Alibaba, compared to that, is much, much, much cheaper. Now, other things that have happened, like Ray Dalio has been talking about Alibaba and has increased his share count by 75% in Bridgewater, for which he is a core analyst at. And I totally understand that. I mean, that makes a ton of sense, especially from a person like Ray Dalio, who really understands fundamentals. And also Charlie Munger, of course, although he has halved his position, he is still long at the stock. And by a very large amount, really. I believe he owns like 600,000 shares, something of that sort, but a very large position, really, regardless of the amount. And Alibaba repurchased 2 billion of its ADRs during the last quarter and 9.6 billion of these shares over the past year. So they are actually buying back shares, and this is amazing for us shareholders who are holding the stock, because now we have a higher stake at the company just by using the shares that we already own. Of course, we know of the risks, political uncertainty, some competition. I don't care too much about competition. Competition will always exist, but I do care about the geopolitical risks. Hopefully, at some point they will dissipate, although we do have some renewed threats potentially. Maybe Taiwan and China could be another one. Although overall, since I'm investing for the long run, I don't really care about this too much. And regardless of what happens in terms of geopolitical tensions, all these things eventually will dissipate, and I'm expecting the company to keep growing as normal. They cannot be suppressed for a long time. And so this is what I wanted to talk about. I thought it was a very interesting article because it kind of, again, shows the shift in sentiment. Kind of starts discussing the positives of Alibaba, while in the previous years it was all about the negatives, geopolitical risks. Now, more positive things seem to be entering the fray of all these articles here. And I kind of wanted to talk about what is happening on Seeking Alpha. A lot of articles are talking about all sorts of different companies, can kind of help you understand what the overall sentiment of the company is. Now, this author's rating is a hold at the moment, so it seems like they went from a very negative stance to a much more sort of like neutral stance at the moment. Maybe they will turn positive at some point. It's of course, it's irrelevant what they, as a single analyst, think, But again, we can see overall that the sentiment seems to be changing a little bit, and I wanted to make a video, kind of talk a little bit about, because I thought it was some interesting information here, and we do want to examine what is happening in the Chinese market. It's very, very important these days. Thanks for watching the video. Please remember to leave a like and subscribe. I'd love to see you around, so remember to be a subscriber. And leave a comment, let me know what you think about Alibaba. I'd like to have a discussion and say what people think about where we're heading with Alibaba. And thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye-bye.